Listen carefully because what I'm about to reveal will upend everything you think you know about intelligence and power. In a world obsessed with showing off how smart you are, the truly powerful play a different game entirely. They don't rush to prove themselves. They don't shout their brilliance from the rooftops. Instead, they wear the mask of foolishness. Yes, you heard that right. The smartest people often pretend to be the least intelligent, not because they're lacking, but because they understand a brutal truth. Showing your hand too early isn't strength, it's weakness. When you reveal your intelligence too quickly, you invite enemies, rivals, and critics to target you, to prepare against you, to undermine you behind your back. You don't gain respect, you gain a target on your back. The power lies not in how loudly you speak or how quickly you respond, but in your ability to remain invisible until the moment you decide to strike. Imagine walking into any room, any negotiation, any battlefield of minds, and letting others believe you're harmless, soft, mild, even naive. Watch how they drop their guard, reveal their secrets, and expose their weaknesses without even realizing it. That silence, that strategic invisibility, is your sharpest weapon. It's not about being the loudest or the quickest to react. It's about the cold precision of knowing when to move, and how devastating that single move can be when it finally comes. This isn't about fooling others. It's about mastering the art of restraint, about bending reality, so that everyone else dances to your silent tune. If you want to truly understand what it means to be powerful beyond the surface, beyond the ego, then you must embrace the paradox that the greatest intelligence is often hidden behind the greatest disguise. Stay with me because this is where the real game begins. From the moment you open your mouth to declare your intelligence, you risk losing everything. It's a paradox few are willing to accept. True power is not in being seen as the smartest person in the room, but in staying invisible until the moment you choose to reveal your strength. In a culture obsessed with validation, where being right or clever is the currency of social currency, showing off your intellect feels like survival. Yet this impulse can become your greatest weakness. Imagine the sting of realizing that every time you prove yourself, you hand your enemies a blueprint, an instruction manual on how to outmaneuver, manipulate, and ultimately defeat you. Why is this so? Because when you step into the light too soon, you paint a target on your back. People don't just admire brilliance, they fear it, envy it, and most dangerously, they prepare against it. Your ideas become weapons pointed at you. Your knowledge becomes a battleground where rivals scheme, whisper, and wait for your moment of vulnerability. The louder you assert your intelligence, the clearer your strategy becomes, and the easier it is for others to dismantle it piece by piece. This is the cruel irony of intellect. It invites rivalry rather than respect, competition rather than alliance. The world rarely rewards those who show all their cards. Instead, it rewards the quiet tactician, the patient observer who understands that power thrives in ambiguity and restraint. The strongest minds are those who master the art of silence, not because they lack ideas, but because they know the value of timing and control. There is an emotional toll here, too. The need to prove oneself is deeply human, rooted in our insecurities and desire for acceptance. To hold back to appear less capable than you are can feel like a betrayal of self, a denial of your worth. It is a lonely path, walking the tightrope between invisibility and impact, balancing on the edge of being dismissed and being underestimated. But those who endure this tension, who embrace the silence as a shield rather than a cage, gain an unshakable advantage. This is not a lesson in meekness or submission. It is a lesson in strategic mastery. The ability to choose when and how to reveal your intelligence is the difference between being controlled and being in control. The moment you understand this, you stop chasing validation and start commanding presence. You learn that power is not a spotlight, but a shadow, a force that moves unseen, shaping outcomes with quiet precision until it becomes undeniable. This is the hidden power of silence, and it is where true mastery begins. There is an unsettling art in the choice to appear less intelligent than you truly are, a mask worn not out of weakness, but of calculated strength. To many, pretending to be foolish feels like surrender, a denial of one's gifts and intellect. But for those who understand power's true nature, this mask is a weapon a cloak of invisibility that shields them from premature attacks and opens doors that arrogance and pride would slam shut. Playing dumb is not about self-deception. It's a deliberate act of mastery over perception, a strategic surrender that invites others to lower their defenses. Why does this work? Because people are fundamentally drawn to underestimate what seems harmless. When you allow others to believe you are soft, naive, or inexperienced, you awaken their egos. They grow confident, even cocky, revealing secrets, flaws, and vulnerabilities that would otherwise remain buried beneath layers of caution. This inflated sense of superiority is their undoing and your greatest advantage. It is a dangerous game of patience, but one played with razor-sharp focus. There is a profound emotional challenge here. To present yourself as less than you are demands restraint, humility, and at times a painful acceptance of being misunderstood or ridiculed. Your silence, your slow reactions, your apparent obliviousness become a source of frustration or amusement for others. They laugh, they dismiss, they think you are an easy target. Yet beneath that surface, every word they speak, every gesture they make, is meticulously recorded in the quiet chambers of your mind. You listen not to respond, but to collect, to build a map of their true intentions, fears, and desires. This is not passive weakness. It is a fierce discipline, a silent vigilance. The mask of foolishness is not a prison, but a tool wielded by those who refuse to be rushed or revealed too soon. It embodies the ancient wisdom of Sun Tzu: appear weak when you are strong. But it goes deeper than mere appearance. It's about crafting an environment where your opponents dismantle themselves, fueled by their own arrogance and misplaced confidence. And when the moment is right, when the stakes are highest, that mask slips away, not with clamor or boast, but with a calculated strike so precise, so devastating, it leaves no doubt who the master really is. The fool becomes the king in a heartbeat. The underestimated becomes unstoppable. This delicate balance between concealment and revelation, between seeming ignorance and profound understanding, is the essence of strategic genius. It demands emotional resilience, patience, and an unwavering commitment to control not just the battlefield, but the very perceptions that shape it. There comes a moment in every battle of minds, the point when silence breaks, and a single phrase delivered with cold precision shatters illusions and rearranges power like a lightning strike in a dark sky. This moment is not born of luck or impulse. It is the culmination of patient observation, strategic restraint, and unwavering self-control. It is the climax, where the one who has been watching quietly, absorbing every detail, steps out of the shadows and reveals the blade concealed behind the mask of foolishness. That single sentence can undo hours of posturing arguments and false bravado, leaving everyone stunned in its wake. Imagine the scene: a meeting where voices clash, egos collide, and everyone is desperate to assert dominance. Then, from the quietest corner, a simple, well-timed counteroffer cuts through the noise, halting the debate instantly. Or the investor, who waited unmoved by market hysteria, finally acts decisively as valuations plunge, sweeping the board with a calm that masks fierce intelligence. The power of that one move lies not in its complexity, but in its timing and impact. It is a sudden reversal of fortune, a moment that leaves rivals grasping for answers they no longer have. This art of selective display, knowing when to reveal and when to conceal, is the cornerstone of true mastery. It is the difference between the loud, predictable player who exposes all their cards and the shadowy tactician who keeps their intentions hidden until victory is within reach. Such mastery requires emotional discipline. It demands resisting the urge to react impulsively, to correct every slight, or to seize every opportunity prematurely. Instead, the strategist waits confident that when the time comes, one precise strike will be worth more than 1,000 reckless moves. The emotional intensity of this moment is profound. The tension, the anticipation, the hush before the storm, it all serves to heighten the impact of that single sentence or move. It's a crescendo in the symphony of strategy, where patience and cunning culminate in undeniable power. And the aftermath. Silence falls. Respect is earned not through arrogance, but through undeniable effectiveness. Understanding and mastering this moment transforms the way you approach conflict negotiation and influence. It teaches that power is not about constant assertion, but about knowing when to act and acting then, with an unshakable certainty that leaves no room for doubt. This is the moment the fool stops being underestimated. This is the moment the game changes forever. To be underestimated is to wield a secret weapon few understand. When others label you as naive, slow, or unthreatening, they lower their defenses and expose their true selves in ways no forceful confrontation could ever achieve. This underestimated figure, often dismissed as the fool, holds a quiet power, a vantage point from which the battlefield unfolds clearly, while others are blinded by their own arrogance and haste. It is a paradox that the very act of appearing weak becomes the greatest source of strength. Human nature craves superiority. When people believe they have the upper hand, their egos inflate like fragile balloons ready to burst at the slightest pressure. They begin to brag, to drop their guard, to reveal intentions and fears hidden beneath polished veneers. This arrogance makes them reckless, their mistakes glaringly obvious to the patient observer. And who is that observer? The one who wore the mask of foolishness all along, collecting these priceless clues, silently preparing to use them at the perfect moment. Emotionally, this role is no easy burden. The sting of being misunderstood, laughed at, or dismissed cuts deep. It feeds insecurities and invites loneliness. Yet beneath this discomfort lies a fierce resilience, a willingness to endure being unseen and unheard, to gain a far greater reward. It requires embracing vulnerability, not as weakness, but as a strategic front, an invitation for others to reveal their true colors without suspicion. The underestimated person listens more than they speak, asks simple, disarming questions, and resists the urge to correct or dominate. This creates an illusion of ignorance that lulls rivals into a false sense of control. They speak freely, exposing ambition's secrets and strategies without realizing the trap they walk into. In this silent dance, power shifts invisibly like the current beneath a calm river, unseen yet unstoppable. This dynamic is not confined to ancient battlefields or political intrigue. It plays out daily in boardrooms, social circles, and personal relationships. The loudest, flashiest, or most eager to prove themselves rarely hold true power. Instead, power belongs to those who understand the virtue of patience, the strength in stillness, and the calculated grace of invisibility. Ultimately, the advantage of being underestimated teaches a profound lesson. Strength is not always about dominance. Sometimes it is about surrender, surrendering appearances, expectations, and the need for immediate recognition. It is this surrender that opens the door to true mastery, allowing the fool to emerge as the unexpected victor, reshaping the world quietly but irrevocably. For many, the urge to prove oneself is a relentless fire, an insatiable hunger to be seen, acknowledged, and respected. But this fire, if uncontrolled, consumes more than it creates. When you rush to demonstrate your intelligence, your worth, your abilities, you hand your opponents the blueprint to dismantle you. You become an open book, predictable and vulnerable. The very act meant to secure your power instead sows the seeds of your downfall. Breaking free from this cycle requires a radical shift in mindset, a movement away from validation toward control. It's not about silencing your voice forever, but learning when and how to use it with deadly precision. True mastery lies not in how loudly you speak, but in how effectively you command presence. This transformation is neither easy nor comfortable. It demands humility to resist the craving for immediate recognition and the patience to wait for the perfect moment. Imagine entering a room not as the brightest spotlight, but as a shadow that moves unseen, observing and calculating. While others vie for attention, you blend into the background, listening more than speaking. Your silence becomes a magnet, drawing out the fears, ambitions, and weaknesses of those desperate to impress. They reveal their strategies, unwittingly building a fortress around themselves that you will later dismantle from within. This path echoes the timeless wisdom captured in the metaphor of entering through the servant's door and leaving as king. The servant, overlooked and underestimated, carries the most potent knowledge, the knowledge of who trusts whom, who hides what, who fears failure. This hidden insight becomes your most valuable currency. The emotional journey here is profound. You must learn to find strength and restraint, to find confidence, not in constant assertion, but in knowing your value without needing to prove it. This is a solitude that can feel isolating, a silence that may be mistaken for weakness by those around you. Yet within this quietude lies your greatest weapon, the power to influence without appearing to lead without commanding, to control without confrontation. Harnessing this power transforms every interaction, from negotiations to friendships, from business deals to family dynamics. You become the calm center in a storm of noise, the steady force others unconsciously orbit. And when you finally choose to speak or act, your words carry the weight of inevitability, your moves the precision of a master strategist. Breaking the cycle of proving yourself is not surrender. It is ascending to a higher form of power, one born of silence, patience, and unshakable self-command. History is a graveyard littered with the ambitious who shouted their brilliance too early, who revealed their plans before they were ready, only to be crushed by rivals waiting patiently in the shadows. Yet scattered among these fallen giants are those rare figures who mastered the art of disguise, men who understood that power is not seized by force alone, but cultivated through cunning patience and strategic invisibility. These masters wore the mask of foolishness so well that their enemies never saw the storm gathering until it was too late. Take Julius Caesar, for example. To his rivals he appeared a populist entertainer, a man fond of theatrics and charm. They underestimated his intellect and ambition, dismissing him as a harmless showman. But beneath that facade was a mind relentlessly calculating, a strategist preparing to cross the Rubicon and rewrite the course of Rome's history. Caesar's brilliance lay not in boasting, but in masking his true intent until the moment of irreversible action. His silence and patience turned the tides of an empire, reminding us that appearances can be lethal illusions. Similarly, Vladimir Lenin was dismissed by the ruling Tsarist regime as a marginal, irrelevant agitator. To many, he was a man out of place, a footnote in the grand history unfolding. Yet Lenin's strength was in his patience and invisibility. He built alliances, quietly observed his enemies' weaknesses, and struck with surgical precision when the moment arrived. His revolution was not a chaotic outburst, but the outcome of years of silent preparation and the mastery of strategic invisibility. His legacy teaches us that even the smallest figure, if masked well, can topple the mightiest thrones. Liu Bang, the founder of China's Han Dynasty, offers another profound example. Known as the village drunkard and jokester, his opponents laughed at him, assuming him incapable of leadership or strategy. Yet this mask allowed Liu Bang to move freely, gather support, and strike decisively when the moment demanded. His story reveals that the appearance of weakness is not defeat, but a battlefield tactic, a way to lull enemies into complacency and secure victory from the shadows. These historical giants share a common thread: they disguised their true power beneath layers of calculated humility and foolishness. Their stories are not merely about deception, but about the strategic harnessing of perception and timing. They teach us that power isn't always the loudest voice or the most visible figure. Sometimes the greatest force moves unseen, gathering strength beneath the surface until it bursts forth in a wave that reshapes the world. Embracing this lesson means understanding that invisibility and patience are not signs of weakness, but the marks of true mastery. Wearing the mask of foolishness is a delicate art, a powerful weapon when wielded with discipline, but a double-edged sword that can wound the wearer if forgotten. The greatest danger for those who choose strategic invisibility is losing themselves in the guise they carefully crafted. It's a slow erosion, a creeping surrender that blurs the lines between performance and reality, until the mask becomes indistinguishable from the man beneath it. The fool risks becoming the very role he once played to deceive. This psychological trap is often overlooked in the pursuit of power. The longer you pretend, the more you must suppress your true thoughts, your sharp instincts, your natural brilliance. Isolation deepens as others mistake your silence or awkwardness for weakness or disinterest. You carry the burden of constant vigilance, never revealing your full hand, never letting your guard down. Over time, the emotional weight of this facade can suffocate your sense of self, leaving you fragmented and confused. Yet within this struggle lies a profound test of resilience and self-awareness. To survive, you must continuously return to your core, the part of you that sharpens your mind, refines your observations, and hones your delivery in private moments of solitude. This hidden training ground is where the mask is shed temporarily, where clarity is restored, and where the weapon of intelligence is kept razor sharp. Without this inner work, the mask becomes a prison and the strategist turns into a prisoner. Knowing when and how to drop the act is equally vital. The moment to reveal your true power is not arbitrary. It demands precision, courage, and timing honed through experience. When you step forward, it must be as a weapon nobody anticipated, a sudden, decisive strike that redefines the battlefield and leaves opponents stunned. To misjudge this moment is to risk exposing weakness or squandering the advantage painstakingly gained through patience. Emotionally, this chapter of the journey is fraught with tension. The fear of exposure, the temptation to reveal too much, the anxiety of maintaining the illusion, these challenges test the willpower of even the strongest. But those who endure emerge transformed, having mastered not only external control but internal harmony. They embody the paradox of being both hidden and powerful, silent yet commanding. Ultimately, the mask of foolishness is a tool, not a prison. Its power lies in the wearer's ability to wield it with intention and to retreat behind it without losing the light of their true self. This balance between concealment and authenticity defines the highest level of strategic mastery, a mastery that turns invisibility into an empire and transforms the underestimated fool into the undisputed king. In the fast-paced, hyper-connected world we live in today, the ancient art of strategic foolishness might seem counterintuitive, yet it remains one of the most powerful tools to navigate the chaos of modern life. This chapter explores how the subtle mastery of appearing less than you are can transform your influence, relationships, and emotional resilience in profound ways. It's not a relic of old battles or distant empires. It's a living strategy finely tuned for boardrooms, social dynamics, and personal growth. Imagine a negotiation where everyone is desperate to prove their point, eager to speak first, and quick to dominate the conversation. In such an arena, the one who listens, who asks seemingly simple or dumb questions, holds the true power. These questions disarm opponents, coaxing them to reveal more than they intended, exposing weaknesses and true priorities. This quiet form of control shifts the balance away from aggression towards subtlety, turning chaos into clarity. It's a dance of patience and observation, where silence becomes the loudest statement. Beyond business, this tactic reshapes personal relationships and social hierarchies. In a culture obsessed with status and constant validation, the elusive figure who refrains from competing for attention commands curiosity and respect. By seeming indifferent, unbothered by petty conflicts or the need to be right, you create a magnetic aura that draws people in, making them want to understand you better, to unravel your mystery. This is not aloofness born of arrogance, but a conscious choice to protect your inner world and to reveal yourself only on your own terms. Emotionally adopting strategic foolishness fosters resilience. It teaches you to resist reactive impulses, to observe without judgment, and to hold your power quietly, even in the face of provocation. This emotional discipline shields you from manipulation, gossip, and unnecessary drama. Instead of being swept away by the noise, you become the calm center, the unshakable presence that others unconsciously turn to in moments of uncertainty. Applying this strategy requires courage, the courage to be misunderstood, to risk seeming weak, and to hold space for ambiguity. It demands patience, self-awareness, and the willingness to play the long game. But the rewards are immense: greater influence, deeper connections, and an unassailable sense of control over your life's narrative. In embracing the paradox of strategic foolishness, you step beyond the shallow pursuit of instant validation. You become a master of your own story, weaving invisibility and impact into a powerful tapestry. This is how quiet power is forged, how silent kings rise not by shouting their worth, but by commanding the room with a single decisive presence that no one forgets. True mastery lies not in how brightly you shine, but in how skillfully you move through the shadows. Strategic invisibility is the hidden genius that separates those who merely survive from those who dominate. It is the art of bending perception, controlling narratives, and wielding power without the need for constant display. In a world where noise and spectacle often overshadow substance, this quiet force is both revolutionary and profoundly unsettling. To embrace invisibility is to understand that power is not a spotlight demanding applause, but a shadow shaping outcomes unseen. It is the confidence to remain silent while others rush to be heard, the patience to hold back brilliance until it becomes unstoppable, the wisdom to watch, listen, and wait. This is not cowardice but courage, the courage to reject immediate gratification for a greater prize. It is a deliberate choice to be forgotten until the precise moment when your presence changes everything. Emotionally, this path challenges our deepest instincts. The longing to be recognized, to prove our worth, to claim our place can feel like a roaring fire. Choosing to remain unseen, unheard can feel like invisibility itself, a form of exile. Yet within this solitude lies unparalleled strength. The silence becomes a fortress, the invisibility, a shield against the world's petty battles and distractions. It is here that your true self sharpens and grows away from the chaos. This mastery redefines what it means to be intelligent. It is not the person who scores highest on tests or dominates conversations, but the one who reads the room like a battlefield, who remains unreadable and unreactive, who lets others bury themselves in their own flaws and contradictions. By becoming the mirror that reflects others' fears and desires, you gain insight far beyond what words can convey. This depth of understanding becomes the foundation of your power. When you finally step forward, it is with a force so precise and overwhelming that it cannot be resisted. The game has changed not because you shouted louder, but because you moved smarter. The predictable are destroyed quickly. The invisible build empires. This is the legacy of strategic invisibility, a mastery that turns silence into sovereignty and transforms the underestimated into kings. To wield this genius, ask yourself, are you willing to let go of the need for constant approval? Can you find peace in being unseen until your time comes? The greatest power is not in being known, it is in being unstoppable. And in this truth lies the path to true greatness. In today's fast-paced world, the loudest voice often gets the spotlight, but true power belongs to those who master the art of strategic silence and invisibility. One of the deepest lessons from this insight is that showing your full intelligence too soon can backfire, making you a target rather than a respected leader. Instead, patience, restraint, and the ability to observe quietly allow you to gather valuable information, understand your environment deeply, and act decisively when the moment is right. This approach isn't about pretending to be less capable. It's about controlling how and when you reveal your strengths to maximize impact. Another powerful takeaway is the value of being underestimated. When others see you as harmless or naive, they often lower their guard unintentionally, exposing their weaknesses and true intentions. By embracing this paradox, appearing less threatening while silently preparing you, gain a unique advantage in negotiations, relationships, and leadership. It takes emotional resilience to accept misunderstanding, to resist the urge to prove yourself immediately, and to hold space for ambiguity, but those who do emerge stronger and more in control. Most importantly, this strategy teaches us to redefine our relationship with recognition and validation. The need to constantly prove ourselves can be exhausting and limiting. Instead, focusing on quiet confidence and selective action cultivates respect that lasts far beyond fleeting praise. Your power grows not through noise, but through thoughtful presence and well-timed moves. If you want to transform how you engage with the world and unlock a deeper level of influence, start practicing strategic invisibility today. Embrace patience, listen more than you speak, and learn the art of revealing your strengths only when it truly matters. If this resonates with you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to explore more insights like this. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and let's grow stronger together. Your journey to quiet mastery starts now.